Welcome to the Black Bibliophile podcast. The Black Bibliophile is a podcast where I, Jazz, read and talk about popular and little-known books, comics, zines, and authors. To quote Haruki Murakami, if you only read the books that everyone else is reading, you can only think what everyone else is thinking. And with that, let's start the show. Welcome back to the Black Bibliophile. It's me, Jazz, and we're here with special episode 20. And this week we're still going to be talking about comics. We're going to be talking about The Lie and How We Tell It by Tommie Parrish, printed by Fantagraphics books. So here's a summary, and then we'll hop right into my review. A friendship fumbles and falls apart after an uncertain encounter in this graphic novel from a remarkable new voice. Parrish's emotionally loaded painted graphic novel is a visual tour de force, always in the service of the author's themes, navigating queer desire, masculinity, fear, and the never-ending flux state of friendships. So, of course, I discovered this book on Hoopla's app, the Hoopla library app, which I'll leave a link below in the comments. I discovered this book in the Hoopla app. I saw the cover and was immediately intrigued by Parrish's art. Parrish's art immediately reminded me of like the children's books, the painted style, the children's books I read when I was younger. The painted style lends itself to that vibe. And I like the way they paint each character and the use of color. The book is vibrant and it feels like you could step into it. The book follows the two friends, Cleary and her friend, I believe his name is Tim. Tim. So the book follows Cleary and her friend Tim as they reconnect. So Tim walks in and Cleary's working the register at a supermarket, and he immediately recognizes Cleary, who's checking out groceries, and Cleary's like, "Oh, I'm off in 10 minutes. How about you wait outside and we can like hang out for a bit?" So they do that, and the whole book follows them reconnecting and realizing that not all friendships are, or you can't just start back where you were. Like, people change and shift and morph into different people. And I love the way that Parrish uses their art to tell this story. I love the use of the colors. I love the broad-shouldered, tiny head art style that they use for their characters. And I'm really, really, really into how they write the dialogue. It feels like you're just eavesdropping on two friends talking. It's completely natural the way they're speaking to one another. I didn't feel taken aback or felt like I was reading a book. I just felt like I was getting hot gossip from these two people about their lives. And I thought that was super cool. And I like the way that as they continue talking, you get info on who they are. Like, Clary is a part of this cool punk band, and she works really hard trying to pay the bills working at the grocery store. And you will find out that she is bi, and that she was really terrible to her first girlfriend because at first she didn't treat her well. She didn't treat her like... She treated her like a dirty secret, and instead of treating her like the partner that they were. And I thought that was really interesting that that Parrish explores these themes with these two characters, and we find so much about them. We find that Tim is kind of still stuck in his childhood image of himself. He's trying so hard to be something that he thinks people want him to be instead of just embracing who he actually is. And he talks about all of this throughout these books, and Tommie Parrish, they really paint this story so well, pun intended, I guess, because it is a painted. I'm truly in love with the look of this book. Like, that's what really drew me in, is the art style. Parrish's use of negative space and line work and colors and sizes to help tell the story and make each panel visually interesting, because really the whole book is a conversation between two people. So you would think that would get boring, but with Parrish's art style, you're completely sucked in. There's nothing boring about it. And what I really am into, so at one point during this conversation, it's going back and forth, and Cleary, you kind of get this vibe that Cleary's trying to suss out whether Tim would be into hooking up. Like, Cleary might have had a crush on Tim in the past, and you get this vibe the whole time, and Tim's just clueless and like, she's like a little sister, I'm not into this. And he's talking about how he's getting married and asking her questions about her life. And eventually they finish this bottle of wine that Cleary brought from her job, and they go back to get more wine. And outside the store, while Cleary's waiting for Tim to get the wine, Cleary finds this book, a novella by Buff McQueen called One Step Inside Doesn't Mean You Understand. And the book completely flips, and we're pulled inside this book that Cleary is now reading, and it's all black and gray, and it's really interesting. It focuses on this this idea of everlasting love, and it focuses on these two characters, a woman who works at a strip club and a guy who picks up or who's dating this woman at a strip club, and how he makes her feel, and how these experiences with one another create this everlasting love, or this idea of love. And it's the black and white make it feel, each panel feel empty almost, or feel like, the best way to put it is feel like you're not a part, like it feels like you're reading something within something. And I like that, and I like the vibe of each page it goes words on one page completely blank with a white square, and then the next page is just an illustration, no words. So it just goes, there's never words and illustration paired, they're always separate on different pages. And I always thought that was really interesting, and it helped illustrate the feelings that McQueen in this story is trying to get across. And Cleary gets sucked in, and it's kind of paralleling Cleary and Tim's story, and while giving Cleary insight into someone else's life and how someone else feels about love and sex, and how empty and lonely it all can be. And I think it's really interesting, and it definitely pulled me in. But then Cleary finishes one section of this book and then is interrupted by Tim when he brings back the wine, and they just start talking. And then Tim brings up Cleary's relationship with her ex-girlfriend, and Cleary talks about how messed up it was that she treated her like a secret. And Tim's like, oh man, I don't think it's that bad that you treated her like a secret. And Tim keeps hinting at his own conflicts with queer desire and being queer and liking other men. And Cleary's like, you don't have to keep it a secret, you can just be, nobody cares, just be yourself. And he's like, nah man, I'm just gonna keep it a secret. And he does these jokes, and then he gets overly masculine and starts trying to hit on women and talk about how hot the bartender is, or how hot the girls that are walking around are. That this hyped up masculinity is trying to hide how he feels. He's trying to camouflage how he feels about his attraction to other men. So further along the book, he gets flustered with being told it's fine to like men. He can just be himself, it doesn't really matter. And he runs off to the bathroom, and he's upset, and he is hiding because he's afraid that showing any feelings would show weakness to the other men in the bathroom. But the men in the bathroom are like, nah man, it's cool to cry, it's whatever. But he's already locked himself in the stall. I like Parrish's conversation or study of masculinity, of queer desire, of how men feel like they have to hide how they feel and camouflage it with this overt spectacle of hitting on women and being this kind of macho dude when really you can just be yourself. It's not gonna kill anybody. And Cleary keeps trying to cross this bridge with Tim, but he's not doing it. And I think my favorite part of the book is when Tim runs off to the bathroom and Cleary is just sitting there. The bartender comes and talks to her, and she says, and she's trying to explain to her what's happening, and Cleary can't quite get it out, and then the bartender says, "Nah, I get it. You're romanticizing something that doesn't exist anymore." And I was like, "Yup." And then Clary's like, "It hasn't existed for a long time now." And yeah. And she talks about how their friendship used to be super important to them, but now they're two different people and they just don't quite vibe like they used to. And it feels like that bartender tells Cleary, or gives Cleary the clearance, I guess, to it's okay. You don't have to vibe like you used to. You don't have to change this person. It's not your job to try to make them see that they can be themselves. It's okay to just be there, and that's it. And I really, really liked this book because it was simple. It was a simple message that I wasn't expecting. I didn't expect to love this book. I'd never even heard of Tommie Parrish before. I've never heard of their work, and I was like, yo, the art is what sucked me in, but what kept me is the story. So Tommie Parrish is someone to definitely check out, and you guys should definitely check out The Lie and How We Tell It. And yeah, this graphic novel is amazing, and I 10 out of 10 recommend it. I just read it last night while I was recovering from being sick, and I think you guys would dig it. If you dig a lot of the other graphic novels I've told you to read, you dig this one. The artwork reminds me of, I don't remember the name of it, but it was about this girl who wouldn't eat lima beans, and then she ate them, and she like turned rainbow colored or something. The art reminds me of that. The painted quality of the work reminds me of all those painted children's books that I loved so much as a kid. And I enjoyed the hell out of the look of this book. And Fantagraphics did a great job with it. And it's available if you have a library card and if your library connects you to Hoopla. It's available on the Hoopla app. You can definitely get it from your local comic book shop and have them order it from Fantagraphics, or you can also have your local bookshop order it because Fantagraphics sells to booksellers too. So yeah, if you really, really want to check out an interestingly drawn story filled with art, romance, friendship, and just like a critical thinking aspect on queer relationships, you should check out The Lie and How We Tell It by Tommie Parrish. Their work is really awesome, and I can't wait to see what else they put out. So yeah, if you like the Black Bibliophile, follow me on Twitter. You can also follow me on Instagram. If you guys have any questions, concerns, or just want to shoot the shit or send some recommendations, you can email me at theblackbibliophile@gmail.com. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Bye.